If you could each just give one piece of advice to the young filmmakers in the room, not to put you on the spot, I probably should have warned you about this. What would you tell them? I'm going to start down at Haley.
Robert.
I'll go first. I mean, I think it's something I said earlier, which is I think, for me, it's always about someone finding their voice, and hopefully that voice is unique and cuts through the clutter because, it's really, really difficult to get people's attention. But if you see something, I think one of the people on the panel said, things that are special pop. They really do. We read so many scripts or watch so many shorts, and when you see something that is incredibly either honest or unique or something that just sort of catches your attention, that's the most important thing. And so I think it's finding your voice and really then sticking to it and then finding a way to get it out there. And unfortunately, I think some of it is being a salesperson. I mean, unfortunately, you can't just be a filmmaker anymore. You probably have to be an advocate for your own work, which doesn't mean being obnoxious or pushy or all that, I think, but you have to sort of find yourself out there and kind of sell your movie. But I'd say it's about finding your voice and putting something out unique.
I would suggest reading. Just read. Because I think that you'll learn so much, and it will expand your knowledge on every level, from the industry to issues to the stories that you're passionate about.
I would say learn to embrace rejection, because you're going to encounter a lot of it, and treat it like raindrops bouncing off a windshield. Because once you get through that personal part and just learn to just ignore it, that's your best chance, and follow your instincts.
I'd say when you're looking at material, there's something beyond just being interesting, identifying what's really compelling or essential about that story, because it is not only highly competitive, but probably a good thing that a lot of films that previously were made were like presenting some interesting, dramatic situation, but not something that really speaks deeply to people who want to either go to a theater or seek it out on their television, and so that's the criterion I would try to really focus on.
Sort of on that note, and kind of touching on finding your voice, it's also knowing or thinking about your audience. It doesn't mean kowtowing or catering to an audience, but it's just thinking about, okay, who's watching this? And it doesn't have to be everyone. It most certainly won't be everyone in the world, but who is your audience, and what are you trying to engage them in? Because it is a two-way street. At the end of the day, you're sort of aiming to get that transaction between you and someone else who's going to watch it. And I think the more you can think about that in your process, the better.
But you make long films, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we've never been involved in a short, but we admire them. And,
do you watch them?
Yes, of course. But, it's really great to have those parameters, I think, to tell a story, because we have some 30-second films that really have a complete transformational arc in them. And the films that were in this festival, were really an impressive array of different kinds of films. But to actually tell a story and be so clear-headed in what you're trying to do that you can pull it off in 5 minutes or 10 minutes is really not only great practice, but a great achievement.
I love this quote. Ron probably knows. I think it was Truffaut who said every film has a beginning, middle, and an end, not necessarily in that order. And I think sometimes with short films, studying the structure is really interesting. You have such a small framework of time, but you have the same responsibility, kind of what Haley was talking about earlier, where you still have to deliver a story in a very limited time frame, and I think it's a great discipline.
Well, I guess I'll add a perspective as a documentary filmmaker. I actually started making shorts when I first began making films, and I kind of came to film with an interest in social advocacy, and it sort of evolved into really a passion for storytelling and filmmaking. But initially that was my interest, and I found that the films I was making, which were about social issues, that having a shorter format really lent itself to having actually a more significant impact in some cases, where you could, one of the targeted audiences was members of Congress, and they have a short attention span, arguably, or not enough time to really focus and see a longer format. But if you made a 15 or 10-minute film, you could really see a difference, and that people had in the experience of watching the film and being transported, and then you had time to then focus on the issues and have it directed towards an impact.